The locks are changed while I'm at work. I don't realize it until I turn my key in the front door and nothing happens. The deadbolt won't budge. I stand there for 3 minutes thinking I'm using the wrong key, even though I've used this key for 8 years. My vision blurs. I check the address on the mailbox. This is still my house. Or it was. My brother is standing in the driveway. He's holding a box. My things. He looks uncomfortable, which is how I know he practiced this moment. He rehearsed what he was going to say and how apologetic he needed to look. It's temporary, he says before I can ask. We just need some space right now. As if this decision involved more than him. As if he didn't plan this alone in his bedroom, writing down talking points, making sure the locks would be changed when I couldn't come home and stop him. I look past him into the house. My house, our parents' house, the house I kept running when Mom got sick and Dad stopped leaving his room. The house I chose to stay in instead of moving away. The house I gave up promotions for, relationships for, a different life for. I don't understand, I say, and my voice sounds very small. You will, he tells me. Just. Not today. He hands me the box. Inside are my journals, my childhood photos, and my favorite sweater. Everything else is still in there, behind a lock I can no longer open. Everything else is his now. I stand on the driveway holding a box of my own life while my brother closes the door. The click of the lock sounds final. Sounds like goodbye. The family meeting happens 3 days later. I spend those 3 days sleeping on my friend's couch, checking my phone for messages that never come. My uncle arranged it. He said we needed to talk things through. I arrive hoping someone will ask me what actually happened. I arrive hoping for justice. I arrive hoping to be believed. I'm sitting across from my uncle, 2 cousins, and my brother at my aunt's kitchen table. He's prepared. He brought notes. He has a story, and he tells it smoothly like he's given this speech before. She wanted to move forward with her own life, he says, making eye contact like it's a performance. We both agreed it was time. She's been stuck in the past, and I'm trying to be supportive of her growth. It was a mutual decision. Open my mouth. My uncle glances at me, then back at my brother. He nods slowly, like my brother just confirmed something he suspected. My cousin doesn't look surprised. They've heard this before. He's told them already before this meeting, before I had a chance to defend myself. She seemed unhappy here anyway, my brother continues, building his story like he's laying bricks. I'm trying to be supportive of that. Sometimes people need space. Sometimes they need to figure out who they are without their family holding them back. My cousin asks when I'm coming back for the rest of my things. My brother says we'll figure out a time very soon when everything settles down. Nobody asks me what I think. Nobody turns to me and says, "Is that true?" They just let him speak, and his words fill the room like truth. I realize this was planned. He planned what he would say. He planned how he would frame it as my choice instead of his theft. He planned how to make himself sound reasonable and compassionate. He planned that nobody would ask me to contradict him, and he was right. I stand up slowly. That's not what happened, I say, but my voice shakes. I know this is hard, my brother says gently, reaching toward me like I'm confused or emotional or unstable. I know this is painful, but I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this because I care about you. I walk out of that meeting without finishing my sentence. I walk out and realize that silence had protected him better than any lie could have. So from that moment I decide to stop fighting it. I stop arguing. I stop defending myself. I start watching instead. He tells the neighbors I moved out willingly. I hear this from Mrs. Patterson, who lives 3 houses down. She brings it up while we're both getting our mail from the communal boxes. She says it carefully like she's testing the waters, like she's trying to figure out what's true and what's performance. Your brother mentioned you wanted a fresh start, she says. He said you felt like it was time to move on and build your own place. That's very brave of you. I look at her and see it immediately, the confusion in her eyes. She doesn't quite believe him, but she doesn't know enough to disbelieve him either. She's caught between his version and her own sense that something doesn't add up. She's caught between wanting to be kind and wanting to understand what's true. That's not accurate, I tell her quietly. I didn't move out. He locked me out. There's a difference. She nods slowly. She looks uncomfortable. She doesn't press. But I see her storing this away, the same way I am. I'm learning that truth doesn't need to be shouted. Sometimes it just needs to be noticed by the right person. Sometimes one person remembering what's true is enough. That night, I buy a notebook from the dollar store and write down the date in careful handwriting. I write, "Brother told neighbors I moved out willingly." Mrs. Patterson seemed uncertain. She heard something was wrong but didn't know what. I underline the date twice. I don't know why I'm writing this down yet. Maybe it's because I'm losing control of everything else and this is the one thing I can control. Documentation, evidence, truth. I just know that details matter now. Details will matter later when I need to prove what happened. 2 weeks pass. I'm staying with my friend Nicole, who is running out of patience with my sadness and my borrowed presence in her apartment. My brother renovates the kitchen. My parents' kitchen, the kitchen where my mom taught me to make her lasagna recipe. He hires contractors. I see the Instagram posts. He paints the walls a color my parents never would have chosen. He hosts a dinner party. I see the photos on Instagram and Facebook. He's standing in our house like he built it. Like he earned it. Like he didn't steal it from me while I was at work saving lives in the ICU where I transferred for higher salary and benefits. Always planning to come back home. Always thinking I was building something. I'm learning that planning for the future means nothing if someone can rewrite your past. His confidence is beautiful and careless. He's stopped checking over his shoulder. He's stopped preparing excuses. He believes his own story now, and that belief makes him comfortable. He's told the lie so many times that it's become true in his mind. Comfortable people make mistakes. They get lazy. They stop covering their tracks. Bills arrive at the house addressed to me. Electric bill. Water bill. Phone bill. Insurance documents. My name is still on everything because our parents' will was never formally settled. The estate is still technically being processed. The house is still partially in my name because our parents' lawyer said we should handle this properly. And my brother has been avoiding the lawyer's calls. My brother tries to change the accounts, but there are legal complications. He can't just transfer everything without my signature. The utilities company asks for my verification. The insurance company needs my consent. Systems have memory. Paper has memory. Laws have memory. I request copies of every bill. I request official letters stating that I'm still a co-owner. I request documentation of every attempt to remove my name from the property. I do this calmly through official channels, with no emotion in my emails. I sign everything sincerely like I'm a business associate. Not a person whose entire life was stolen. I'm building a paper trail of facts that can't be denied or reframed. I'm creating evidence that exists in triplicate, that cannot be explained away, that cannot be twisted into someone else's story. I spend a Saturday going through old messages and calendar entries. I photograph everything with my phone. Mom's diagnosis date. The weeks I took off work. The hospital visits I logged in my Google Calendar. The nights I stayed awake listening for her to need something, to need water or medication or just someone to sit with her while she was scared. The meals I cooked and froze, labeled with dates. The medical appointments I scheduled and attended and documented. The moments when my brother was working late or going out with friends while I was home managing medications and insurance calls and coordinating hospice care. My brother was working those years. He was building his career. He was out most nights. I don't write this as accusation, I write it as fact. The dates line up too cleanly. The timeline is undeniable. The evidence of my presence is overwhelming. I was there. I was present. Sacrificed. I gave everything. I organize it all in a folder on my laptop. I name it evidence, and I password protect it. I don't know yet what I'll do with it. I just know that possession is the first step. Possession, then clarity, then action. Possession is how you begin to take back what's yours. Mrs. Patterson calls me on a Tuesday evening. Her voice is hesitant. She says she heard an argument from her backyard while she was gardening. She heard my brother talking to someone, a contractor or a lawyer maybe, she couldn't tell. She couldn't hear all of it, but she heard him saying clearly, "She'll never prove anything. Who's going to believe her over me?" My throat tightens. My hands go cold. He's already defensive. He's already thinking about what I might do. He's already preparing for me to fight back. Which means he knows what he did. Which means he knows it's wrong. Which means he's afraid. "What else did you hear?" I ask carefully, my heart pounding. She tells me he mentioned the house. He mentioned that I'd abandoned it. He mentioned that legally he was handling things, and that there wasn't much I could do about it because the house was practically his. He mentioned that his lawyer said I didn't have a real claim anymore. "Thank you for telling me," I say, and I mean it with my entire body. "Thank you for paying attention." After I hang up, I add this to my notebook. Not as gossip, as evidence. As proof that he's aware of what happened and is already building a defense against being held accountable. He's already preparing for battle. He just doesn't know I've already begun fighting. I stop responding to his messages. He texts asking when I want to pick up more of my things. I don't answer. He calls twice. I don't pick up. He sends an email saying we should talk about this like adults and work it out. I leave it unread for a week, then 2 weeks. Silence is a tool. It's a weapon. It forces him to keep talking. And every time he talks, he adds more details to his story. More details mean more chances to contradict himself. More chances for people to notice inconsistencies. More chances for the truth to crack through. I'm learning that silence is patient. Silence doesn't get angry. Silence doesn't make mistakes. My cousin calls me on a Sunday afternoon. She's uncomfortable, I can tell immediately. Her voice is tight. She asks quietly if I'm okay. Not if I'm fine, if I'm actually okay. That's a different question entirely. That's a question that means she's worried about me, that she's doubting the story she was told. Not really, I tell her honestly. Not even a little bit. She tells me my brother's story has been bothering her. She says the timeline doesn't make sense. She says she remembers me being home all the time, managing everything. She says she remembers calling the house and always reaching me. She remembers me answering the phone at 2 in the morning when there was a medical emergency. "Why didn't you say anything at the family meeting?" Yes. She's quiet for a long time. I didn't want to cause conflict. I didn't want to make things harder. I was hoping you two would work it out without me getting involved. Understand. I understand how people choose peace over truth. I understand how standing up for someone costs energy and creates discomfort and makes you the enemy of people who don't want to hear what you have to say. My uncle calls next 3 days later. He asks similar questions, but his voice is different. He sounds older. He sounds like someone who's realized he made a mistake. I answer every one of his questions with facts. Proof. I don't persuade him, I just give him information. What he does with it is his choice. But they're asking. They're doubting. The story he told is developing cracks. And I'm not even pushing. The truth is doing the work for me. At a cousin's birthday dinner 3 weeks later, my brother brings me up unprompted. Nobody asked about me. Nobody mentioned me. Nobody was thinking about me at all. But there he is, explaining my absence to a room that didn't ask for an explanation. He tells the story about how I needed to move on, and how he's supporting my growth. He tells it with such concern in his voice that people almost believe him. He talks about how I wasn't happy staying in the past, how I needed independence, how he's just a supportive brother letting her find herself. I watch people's faces shift as he speaks. Their expressions change. Not in sympathy for him, but in recognition of something false. They didn't ask for an explanation, which means they're now wondering why one was offered. Innocent people don't defend themselves when nobody accused them. Innocent people don't bring up old conflicts unprompted. He over-explains 3 more times that dinner. Each time, another relative's expression grows more skeptical. Each time I see someone making a calculation in their mind. Each time I watch the room grow quieter. I'm going through old files on my laptop when I find it. A group text from 5 years ago. My brother, my cousin Brandon, and me. Our parents had just died, and we were all grieving and lost and trying to figure out what came next. We were discussing what to do with the house, what to do with everything. My brother wrote, "We should all decide this together. This is a family decision. Nothing gets done without all of us agreeing. I promise." I read it 3 times. I screenshot it. I save it in a folder labeled Evidence, and I back it up to the cloud. The message contradicts everything he's said. He promised shared decision-making. He promised it was a family matter. He promised that nothing would happen without everyone's agreement. Instead, he locked me out alone. Instead, he acted unilaterally and then invented a story to cover it. My uncle calls and asks for a family meeting. His voice is serious in a way it hasn't been before. He says things need to be clarified. He says there are questions that need to be answered. He says my brother has agreed to come. He asks very carefully if I'll come too. Yes, I say without hesitation. I'll be there. This is the moment. This is when everything changes. I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it in the way my uncle's voice changed. I can feel it in the silence that follows before he hangs up. I arrive early and sit in the living room. My parents' living room before anyone else is there. I sit in the chair my dad used to sit in. I sit and I wait. My brother comes down from upstairs and stops when he sees me. His face changes. His entire body goes rigid. He wasn't expecting me to be calm. He was expecting anger or desperation or begging. He was expecting tears and emotion and someone easy to dismiss as hysterical. He wasn't expecting me to simply be present. He wasn't expecting me to look at him with clarity instead of pain. I don't speak. I just sit. I let him feel my presence. I let him wonder what I'm about to say. When everyone arrives, the energy is different than the last meeting. The tension is different. I'm not defensive. I'm not emotional. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm just waiting. I'm just present. My brother can't read my silence. Terrifies him. I place a printed folder on the table slowly. Everyone leans forward. Inside are copies. The group text promising shared decisions. The bills still in my name. The insurance documents. The hospital records showing my presence. The dates. Timeline. The evidence organized chronologically and logically. I don't make accusations. I don't raise my voice. I don't cry or perform emotion. I just present facts like I'm reading a report. Like I'm a doctor presenting test results to a patient. This is what actually happened, I say quietly. These are dates. These are messages. These are records. These are my actions. I'm not angry. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just asking that we all remember what's true. My brother's face goes white. His mouth opens and closes. He has no defense because the evidence is undeniable. Before he can respond, before he can manufacture an explanation, my cousin speaks. She says she remembers now. She remembers how hard I worked. She remembers my brother being absent during the hardest years. She remembers me calling her from the hospital. She remembers my exhaustion. My uncle says the timeline makes complete sense now. He says he feels ashamed that he didn't ask more questions before. He says he should have listened to his instinct that something was wrong. Mrs. Patterson isn't here, but her words are carried by my cousin who mentioned the conversation. Another relative mentions that a neighbor seemed confused about my brother's story and had asked them about it directly. Nobody is attacking him. They're just agreeing with what's true. And truth, when it's undeniable, is more powerful than any argument could ever be. My brother stands up suddenly. His voice changes. It becomes hard and defensive. His face reddens. "This is manipulation," he says to me, pointing. You're trying to make me the bad guy. You're twisting everything to suit your narrative. I'm presenting facts, I say calmly, not moving from my seat. You're twisting everything. His voice is louder now. You're making me look like a villain when all I've done is try to take care of things. I've been managing the estate. I've been handling everything while you abandoned us. The room shifts visibly. People see him clearly now, not as a reasonable person, but as someone who gets angry when his story is questioned. Anger is what guilty people do. Anger is what people do when they can't argue with evidence, so they try to discredit the person presenting it instead. My uncle asks a simple question. Why did you change the locks without discussing it first? My brother's answer is defensive, then contradictory, then circular. He says it was temporary. Then he says it was necessary. Then he says I would have fought him on it. But fighting implies guilt. Fighting implies he knew I'd disagree. Fighting implies he did something wrong and was trying to prevent me from stopping him. Stories don't match. Timelines collapse. The room sees it clearly. The contradictions pile up like evidence at a crime scene. Silence turns against him now instead of protecting him. My cousin asks the question everyone's thinking. Why did you want her out? My brother hesitates. And in that hesitation, everyone understands. It wasn't about space or growth or supporting me. It was about control. It was about having the house to himself. It was about making decisions alone. It was about erasing my contributions so he could feel like the sole keeper of what our parents left behind. It was about power. The room understands motive now. And motive changes everything. My brother says something that shatters what's left of his credibility. He says, his voice shaking, I never promised we'd decide this together. I hold up my phone. I show the group text to the room. His own words. From 5 years ago. It's right there. It's undeniable. It's in his handwriting, from his number, saved in everyone's phone history. You promised, I say quietly. These are your words. You promised. Nobody defends him. Nobody says, maybe you misremembered. Nobody softens the truth. There's just silence, and in that silence, he realizes he's lost. Chairs don't literally turn, but people shift away from him. I stop meeting his when he speaks. When he tries to explain further, nobody responds. My uncle asks me questions instead. My cousin directs comments to me. Even Mrs. Patterson's implied support now rests with me. My brother notices. I watch it happen on his face in real time. The moment he realizes that the room has decided who to believe. The moment he understands that the evidence has convinced them. The moment he knows he's alone. When it's quiet, when the silence has done all the work it needs to do, I speak. I don't want the house, I say clearly. I never wanted to fight him over it. I never wanted to take anything from him. I just want the truth to be known. I want our family to remember what really happened. That's all. It's the most important thing I say all day. Because I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing it for truth. I'm doing it for integrity. And there's a difference that everyone can feel. There's a difference that changes how people understand the entire situation. After the meeting, decisions are made quietly. My uncle says he's going to verify the will with a lawyer. My cousin says she wants to talk to me about what I need going forward. My brother sits alone on the couch while everyone else leaves. Nobody is cruel to him. Nobody raises their voice again. Nobody performs anger or betrayal. But they've decided. They know he lied. They know he acted alone despite promising not to. They know he prioritized control over family loyalty. And that knowing changes how they treat him forever. Invitations stop coming to his phone. Conversations happen without him. He's left off group messages. Family WhatsApp chats continue without including him. Trust fractures around him like glass breaking in slow motion. These are natural consequences of being exposed as someone who lies to people he loves. Over the next 2 weeks, my relatives reach out to me individually. They call or text or visit. They apologize. They say they should have asked more questions. They say they're ashamed they believed his version so easily. They say they're sorry for how they treated me at the meeting. I accept their apologies without bitterness. I understand how convincing lies can be when they're told by someone you trust. I understand how silence protects liars. I understand how fear of conflict makes people accept false narratives. But now the narrative is corrected. When relatives talk about what happened, they mention my sacrifices. They mention my presence. They mention that I did the work while my brother was building his career. They mention the dates. They mention the evidence. The truth, once spoken, is hard to unsay. The truth, once documented, cannot be rewritten. My brother doesn't lose the house. Legally, he has claim to it. The lawyers confirm this. He kept it. He won that battle. But he loses something more valuable. He loses respect. He loses the ability to be believed. He loses the family relationships he took for granted. He lives in our parents' house alone now. Not because I forced him out, but because his family slowly stopped visiting. Invitations to events don't include him anymore. Group conversations happen without him. Phone calls that used to include him now deliberately exclude him. He's isolated by his own choices and his own lies. It's not cruelty. It's not orchestrated. It's consequence. It's what happens when you betray people and think you can hide it forever. It's what happens when you're exposed as someone who values control more than honesty. I move into my own apartment 3 months later. It's small. It's modest. It's absolutely mine. I decorated it myself. I chose the paint color. I chose the furniture. It doesn't carry the weight of my family's grief or my brother's ambition. It's clean. It's mine. The first night in my new place, I sit on the floor with no furniture yet. I just sit and breathe. I don't cry. I don't feel angry. I feel something deeper. I feel like myself again. For the first time in months, I'm not waiting for the next betrayal. I'm not documenting evidence. I'm not strategizing. I'm just existing in a space that belongs entirely to me. I built a life untouched by manipulation. I told the truth and let the truth do its work. I didn't need revenge because honesty was enough. I didn't need to orchestrate anyone's downfall because the facts were undeniable. My brother called me twice after the meeting. I didn't answer. He sent emails apologizing, but the apologies felt like performance, like he was sorry he got caught, not sorry for what he did. I deleted them without responding. Some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt. My cousin invites me to family dinners now. My uncle helps me with paperwork regarding the estate settlement. My family slowly rebuilds the trust they have with me. Takes time. Trust is fragile. But it's being restored because I told the truth. My brother watched me lose everything. He watched me lose my home, my security, my place in the family. He watched me suffer and thought he'd won. Then it was his turn to lose something. Not the house, but the things that actually matter. Trust, respect, the ability to be believed. The comfort of being part of a family that doesn't doubt his word. The ease of relationships built on anything other than suspicion. I walk away whole. I walk away healed. I walk away knowing exactly who I am and what I did and that I acted with integrity. He stays behind, living in a house that finally feels empty. Living with people who no longer believe him. Living with consequences that nobody orchestrated, that nobody forced, that simply emerged from the truth. That's how truth works. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be cruel. Just needs to be real. And when truth is real, it changes everything.